As human beings, we all want to be happy and free from misery. We have learned that the key to happiness is inner peace. The greatest obstacles to inner peace are disturbing emotions such as anger, attachment, fear, and suspicion, while love and compassion and a sense of universal responsibility are the sources of peace and happiness, as said by the Dalai Lama. The great spiritual leader once said that we all want to feel happiness in our lives, and in all of recorded history there has never been a single person who achieved this inner peace, this inner happiness, by throwing tantrums or by letting one's negative emotions and feelings to build until they overflow into a cascade. As it is stated here, the only way to truly rid oneself of these negative emotions is not by ignoring them, but by embracing love and compassion as the way forward. One of the best ways to allow this change to happen is by ensuring one has emotional control over themselves. The importance of emotional control can be shown at all times whenever one person communicates with another. It's present in every word or idea expressed. Its importance is best shown whenever a person shows a lack of self-control. In this next example, we hope that this fact becomes clear.
Hi, my name's Sebastian. What's yours?
I'm Nathan. Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Nathan. We watched The Avengers the other day. What'd you think of the movie?
I mean, I didn't like it very much, man. I actually thought it was quite detestable, actually.
Any particular reason why? I thought it was a good movie.
It's not necessarily my problem with The Avengers itself, it's the problem in general with all of the world's violence culminating in a glorified version on screen and media. It's the worst thing in the world, dude. The fact that we're showing our kids this, it's appealing to younger audiences to show that violence is all problems. It's not, okay? That's why. You see me, I'm looking at the screen, I feel like I'm super into it, I'm hating the movie the entire way through.
Well, I mean, when we're trying to, I get that you might not like the violence, but flat out rejecting the entire comics history would just be wrong. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, it's just, you would be destroying an entire decade's worth of history, and on top of that, we have ignoring our baser instincts gets us nowhere.
See, this is the problem that causes wars, my dude!
Okay. This has been a great conversation. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll see you later.
As this example hopes to show, not being able to control one's own emotions can lead to a person being socially outcasted from both the community at large and also one's friends and family. After all, who wants to deal with an irate hothead all the time? Before we go any further, an important distinction must be made. The definition of mental health, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is a person's condition with regard to their physiological and emotional well-being, whereas emotional health is a positive state of well-being which enables a person to be able to function in society and meet the demands of everyday life. In other words, emotional health is a branch of mental health. While it is certainly possible to have a problem in one area and not the other, they tend to go hand in hand. This means that if you can begin fixing your emotional health, trying to make oneself more emotionally stable, the chances of you influencing your overall mental health in a positive manner increase substantially. And even if you have a permanent mental illness and can't properly be treated, just getting one step closer to being healthy certainly can't hurt you. Attempting to fix this may seem unnecessary, as most people only believe that their unstable emotions and behavior can only hurt their social relationships. This belief, however, is incorrect, as it has finally been confirmed that there is a significant link between one's mental health and their physical health. This, of course, ruling out the obvious relationships like suicide. In a study done by the University of Oxford, it was discovered that some mental illnesses, such as substance and alcohol abuse, dementia, and learning disabilities, could reduce a person's life expectancy by 10 to 20 years. For the record, that is worse than even heavy smoking, which is a known factor in various cancers. In another study done by the King's College London, it was observed in an international study of more than 3.2 million people with severe mental illnesses. it was revealed that many of them had a substantial increased risk for developing cardiovascular diseases compared to the general population. Those who have schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and major depression have a 53% higher risk for developing cardiovascular disease than the healthy controls, with a 78% higher risk of developing cardiovascular diseases over the long term. Another example of how mental illnesses can affect one's physical health was the study that, through pooling unpublished data from 16 prospective cohort studies, it was found that psychological stress can be used to predict a person's future health problems. In an independent study, it was found that people with both depression and diabetes were 85% more likely to have a heart attack. In the same study, it was found that people living with schizophrenia are at a higher risk of developing osteoporosis. Having schizophrenia almost doubled your chances of having a low bone density. A 2009 study of patients with severe chronic obstructive pulmonary disease found that 22% of participants had at least mild depression, defined as a score of 14 or more on the widely used Beck Depression Inventory, and 17% of those were taking antidepressants. Researchers say that for these patients, depression is an independent determinant of health-related quality of life. This means that depression alone can have a massive effect on how long a person lives and how well they live their life. Lastly, there is the condition known as broken heart syndrome. Broken heart syndrome is known as a temporary heart condition that's often brought upon by stressful situations, such as the death of a loved one. What's interesting about this condition is that it occurs almost exclusively in women. One striking example of this condition was when it was first described in 1990 in Japan. More than 90% of reported cases in women aged 58 to 75 had research suggest that up to 5% of women evaluated for a heart attack actually have this disorder, which has only recently been reported in the United States and may go largely unrecognized. Fortunately, most people recover rapidly with no long-term heart damage. While it may not have been obvious in all of these situations, there was always the undercurrent condition of too much stress. Many of these problems are either created by or exacerbated by stress making their health worse. And while it is true that many of these can't be cured, do not despair, as there is hope. While treating things like schizophrenia and depression is certainly difficult even with all the newly created medication, it can still be done to a certain degree. So if stress is a massive factor in making these conditions worse, it should become an imperative to try to limit unnecessary stress from being generated. To clarify, stress is a known aging mechanism of our biology. While some stress is necessary as it can act as a form of motivation, much of what we feel today isn't needed. Therefore, eliminating these issues where we can only be advantageous. But here is why you should not give up hope on trying to fix your own mental/emotional issues. Luckily, with the increased creation of these problems came new and interesting solutions. Some of these are actually old, repurposed methods of relaxation, and others just recently came into existence. Yoga is a group of physical, mental, and spiritual practices which originated in ancient India. It has grown quite popular in recent years thanks to increased emphasis for alternative medical techniques. Many people who practice yoga do so to maintain their health and well-being, improve physical fitness, relieve stress, and enhance their quality of life. It is used as a complementary medical measure and as such should be used in conjunction with other medical practices. So while it certainly won't cure cancer or fix a broken leg, it can be extremely useful in the reduction of both stress and in some cases, pain. Reading has existed since the very beginning of humanity. Thanks to our natural creativity, there's a wealth of fictitious books which would allow for anyone to relax themselves by going into a brand new world where anything is possible. Watching TV is another great way to relax. Sometimes the best thing to do is to simply sit down and watch some mindless entertainment. Playing video games is similar to books in two ways. The first being that there is a copious amount of fictitious worlds to explore, and the second being that, like books, you can go into adventures at any time and find yourself immersed in brand new worlds. However, unlike books, video games tend to be more visual and interactive. However, I must warn you, as playing online games in which you compete against other players tends to be a very stressful environment. When it comes to exercising, it is a known fact that exercising lowers a person's stress. Why this is could be chalked up to maybe our ancestors' biological imperative to move around and try to be mobile, or it just might give someone time to think. Whatever it might be, it certainly works to reduce stress, and luckily the UNLV Student and Recreation Wellness Center is nearby to fill all your needs. Doing your hobbies can create a very relaxing experience. Whatever your hobby might be, whether it be making paper airplanes, or cooking, or maybe even skydiving, it's never a bad idea to try to reduce your own stress through those means. When you're unable to find an activity that makes you relaxed, sometimes getting a massage is an excellent idea. Getting a massage is literally an attempt to loosen the tension in a person's muscles, and it should be obvious, but not being tense all the time is a clear sign of relaxed and usually an emotionally stable person. If you're looking to drink something to calm your nerves, you can't go wrong with herbal tea or warm milk. Be careful though, as caffeine, which is found in things like coffee and black tea, can keep you up and is a known stressor, so avoid it if you're trying to calm down or just sleep. One of the simplest and easiest methods of controlling one's stress is to stop, try to block out the negative things that are around you, and take slow, deep breaths. This can be useful when attempting to take inventory of a situation. If a massage is not available, one of the best things you can use is warm water. Warm water is an excellent method of relaxation as it increases the blood flow to one's muscles, making the tension lessen. And if you're wondering why there's no picture, it's because I'm using a photo. Human beings are extremely creative species, and we have a deep love of music, and listening to music can be an effective form of relaxation. As it was once said by the great Greek philosopher Plato, music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything. Practicing mindful meditation is an excellent method of relaxation. Meditation is similar to yoga, it just is less physical with many of the same benefits. It can be done just about anywhere. Or maybe not. All of these things that I've mentioned are great in the moment. But if you really want to fix the problem, long-term solutions must be started and there must be follow-up. Without long-term solutions, the problem is just going to keep reappearing more and more, and it's going to become more difficult to practice these exercises and activities. One method to try to calm down if you find yourself having anger is to try to find out if your anger is unreasonably created. It's always possible that the issues that get you worked up aren't necessarily all coming from the same source. Select the situation that you want to be in. This usually means that both parties feel respected and get to say their piece. Then you should modify the situation to the selected one. Consider how your voice is. Is it loud or is it too low? Think about the language that you've used with the person you're talking to. Has it been too harsh of words? For example, if you're having a political discussion and you're referring to the person as, I don't know, a child murdering Nazi, that's not going to change their mind, and it's only going to make them more worked up than they were before. After this, you should then proceed to trying to shift your attentional focus to either a distraction or another part of the conversation. Try to figure out why they feel the way they feel. Ask them, why do they believe what they believe, and then you should pay close attention to what they're saying so that you can ensure that their words are heard. After paying close attention to what they have to say, consider changing your own thoughts now that you're able to see them from their perspective. And even if you're unable to agree with them, understanding their position can de-escalate a situation very quickly. Finally, now that you understand all of what they have to say, you can change your own response by, instead of yelling or cursing, You can ensure that their objections that they mentioned are voiced inside of your own speech. If all that you're attempting to do is live a more stress-free lifestyle, reframing your stressful thoughts is a great way to start. Be aware of where that stress begins. If it's being in a certain place, then obviously avoid that place. If it's talking about a certain subject, try to guide the conversation away from it. If it's possible, identify the types of thinking that lead to stress. If you start getting the mentality of it's a you versus them, it's not going to help you, and it's only going to make you have to constantly compete, even with your own family. As it was mentioned before, always try to understand different perspectives. It is vital to communication and very helpful in the long term. Don't be afraid of changing your negative thoughts. With all the evidence, with all the information that's available to us today, there's no shame in thinking to yourself after years of thinking about an opinion that you might have been wrong. Always try to see if you're seeing things in the wrong light. If anxiety is hitting you hard, consider writing down the 2 categories of information about the problem that's impacting you. Try to categorize it as in the things that you can help and the things that you can't help. Once you realize what you can't help, you don't need to worry about them as much, if at all. Then start trying to fix the things that you can help. Try to identify the things around you that cause unnecessary stress. I'm going to break the 4th wall on this one. I'm doing this a week ahead of time, so that way during study week I'm not going to be worried about the deadline at all, because the project's already going to be done. Waiting to the last minute helps nobody. If anything, waiting to the last minute is only going to impact on your work, because then you're going to be up at 2 a.m. trying to put together a massive project that, as in this case, is worth 25% of this grade. So just try to avoid unnecessary stress where you can. Now back to the project. Sometimes changing one's environment can have a serious impact on their ability to de-stressify. Living in a trashy environment can only hurt a person's self-image, but on top of that, it can hurt their hygiene, which only makes things worse. Adopting a stress-fighting lifestyle is extremely important. Always try to make sure you get enough sleep, eat something reasonably healthy, and finding time to relax is the best thing you can do to ensure that your health doesn't degenerate because you were careless. Now that all of these ideas have been implemented, let's go back and see how the earlier conversation could have gone.
Hi, my name is Sparrows.
My name's Nathan. Nice to meet you, man.
We watched The Avengers the other day. I was wondering, what was your opinion on that? Well, you seem to really be into the movie.
See, I was into it for the wrong reasons, though. Violence in movies and media in general doesn't really appeal to me whatsoever. It's actually kind of ridiculous.
Any particular reason why?
It glorifies the fact that, you know, as humans, we're already violent enough. Why would we glorify it on the film and the TV screen and like on YouTube and stuff like that? It doesn't make any sense to me. I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
So you don't like the idea that we're going to our baser instincts and we're only acting on our primal urges, and you want to be better than that?
Exactly. I hate it. It's absolutely terrible. And like, the fact of the matter is, you may have seen me be angry at the movie, or maybe see me really into the movie. I mean, the characters are fine and all, but it's like every single scene there's someone getting killed, there's someone getting punched in the face. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Why are we doing that? I mean, we're exposing our kids to this sort of thing. We're exposing everyone to this sort of thing, glorifying it, making it a way to solve our problems. It's just not very good, man. I hate it.
And that's it. Always try to decrease your stress levels. Always try to recognize problems before they get out of control and try to fix them. And lastly, if you find yourself with the belief that you have a mental illness, reach out to others for help. Go to professionals to make sure you're properly diagnosed. Only bad things can follow for those that realize they have a problem, but don't seek out help when they obviously need it.
Go home, folks.